So how exactly does homeownership build long-term wealth? We know that homes tend to appreciate most times, right? The housing market does go down sometimes and goes up, but the majority of homes appreciate year after year long-term. So how is it that you can build long-term wealth with home ownership? In this episode, I'm going to share with you some tips. So buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions most people will ever make in their life, okay? What many people don't realize is that home ownership is also one of the most powerful ways to build wealth. Now, I see a home as an asset in some ways. In other ways, it is a liability because you do have costs. And if you depend on, let's say, income from a job or whatnot, or even a business that has a bad year, you still have to make up those costs. But for the most part, I feel a home is an asset, okay? If you look at household wealth in America, homeowners on average have significantly more net worth than renters. We know that renting, while in some cases is a good idea, it's a little more flexible, okay? You can end your lease and move easier than selling a home. But it's, you're still paying a landlord and your money is not going really towards anything except time for you to stay in the rental, okay? So let's break down the main ways that a home builds wealth. First one is obviously equity, okay? You can build equity as the years go by. You can build equity. Typically, I would say it's probably single-digit growth you can expect from appreciation each year. Okay, sometimes it's more. We've seen that in recent years where double-digit growth year after year. It was pretty insane, actually. But equity is the simple difference between what your home is worth and what you owe on your mortgage. Okay, so actually, let me share with you an example. So if you have a house that's worth $300,000 and you owe on your mortgage $200,000, that means you have $100,000 in equity. Okay, so every time you make a mortgage payment, a portion of that payment goes towards reducing your mortgage balance, the loan balance, the principal balance, okay? And over time, that means you own more and more of your home. Pretty exciting, okay? So think of it kind of like a forced savings plan, okay? Instead of paying rent and never seeing that money again, you're gradually converting your housing payment into ownership. Pretty cool. Think about after 10, 15, 30 years, that equity can become a major financial asset. Now, on a side note, I work with seniors who have to make a change, right? They have to sell their home to pay for assisted living or whatnot, okay? So that now asset, their home, most of the time it's paid off, they can sell that home or take out an equity line and actually pay for assisted living for their next chapter. Or if they're downsizing a home, they can use the cash from their current home to put towards, maybe a smaller home or a condominium, okay? Number 2, home appreciation, okay? I kind of touched on this in the beginning of this episode, but homes typically, most of the time, appreciate, okay, year after year. The second way, is through appreciation. Home values tend to rise over time, which I'm glad. Yes, housing markets can fluctuate. Like I mentioned, they go up and down. They can fluctuate in the short term. However, long term, most properties appreciate, okay? For example, let me share with you this, okay? If a home increases in value by just a few percent each year, that growth compounds over time, compound interest, okay? Many homeowners end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in increased home value from holding the property long term. That's exciting. Third one is leverage, okay? So another powerful factor is leverage. Real estate is one of those few investments where you can control a large asset with a relatively small down payment. For example, I got an example here for you. You might buy a $400,000 home with a 10% or 20% down payment, but if the value of the home increases, which most of the time it will, that appreciation is based on the full value of the property, not just the money you put down. Pretty interesting, right? That leverage can significantly increase the wealth building potential of home ownership. You can't do that when you rent a place, okay? The fourth one is stability of housing costs. So home ownership can also create long-term cost stability, it's called. With a fixed rate mortgage, the principal and interest portion of your payment stays the same over time. Meanwhile, rents oftentimes go up each year, right? Landlords do that. Over time, homeowners frequently find themselves paying much less for housing, even with the maintenance costs, compared to what renters are paying in the same market. That difference can free up money to invest, save, or use toward other financial goals. I love that part. Okay. Number 5, tax advantages. Here's my disclaimer. I am not a tax professional. I am not a CPA. I'm a realtor, just sharing with you this information. Okay. Always consult with a CPA or accountant or a tax reviewer. I recommend a CPA before taking advice. Okay. But hear me out on this. So there can be tax advantages associated with home ownership. Okay. Depending on your situation, homeowners may be able to deduct mortgage interest or property taxes. Additionally, when you sell a primary residence, right, the home you live in full time, there can be capital gains exclusions that allow homeowners to keep a large portion of their profit. That's awesome. Okay. Number 6, using equity later. We talked about equity. Okay. Homeowners eventually use their home equity as part of their broader financial strategy. Okay. Some people use equity, for example, to fund renovations that actually increase the home's value. That's smart. Others may use it to consolidate debt, help fund retirement, or assist family members. Some people don't like when someone says, oh, you can use equity in your home to pay off and consolidate and pay off other debt. Well, why not? Because the rate on a home equity loan is way less than a 30% credit card. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense as long as you're doing it responsibly. If you take out equity from your home, consolidate debt, and then take out more high interest credit card debt, that's going to put you in more of a hole. So don't do that. Okay. So my reality check here is, it's important to be realistic. Home ownership isn't a get rich quick strategy. It never will be. Okay. It works best for people who plan to stay in a home for multiple years, decades, right? And they view it as a long-term investment. There are also costs involved. I kind of touched on this, but the maintenance, the property taxes, insurance, and then what the market does, it goes up or down, whatever. Okay. But over time, many homeowners find that owning a home becomes one of the most significant contributors to building wealth, net worth, and wealth. Okay. So when people ask why homeownership matters financially, the answer usually comes down to 3 things. These 3 things are equity, appreciation, and long-term stability. Together, those factors alone can create a powerful wealth building opportunity. That's why I love homes. I love owning a home, even though there are maintenance and things that I have to do, right? DIY stuff on a weekend. But owning a home builds wealth long term. Share your thoughts in the comments, and I appreciate you watching.